Hello, guys. Welcome. Welcome to another episode of Ripster Daily Trade Recaps and Teachings. All right, guys. Amazing day today. Amazing day. A lot of good trades today, led by Apple Breakout, which I will cover in detail today and show you how we knew this breakout is coming and how I guided the community. So apart from there were some solid plays. Overall a great day. It was most of the trades were in the morning. Great call outs by the folks on the trading floor as well in the community. Before I start, let's do a quick introduction to anybody who's new to my Twitter, who's new to my X, or new to YouTube. All these trade ideas and all these anything that's day trade, swing trade, or any investment idea are ideas from anything I share on Twitter, anything I share in community, anything I share with you guys on my YouTube videos. All these ideas from there. Some of the trades I take, some of the trades I do not take, but I guide through all the trades that I discuss here, in the community. Some of the trades are from our trading floor discussions in the community. A lot of our active members, senior mods, and all those who take those trades. So we try to recap those trades and try to see how we did. We do not trade random. We follow a fixed rule. So we always have a repeatable system, repeatable setup. Setup is what you trade. System is how you trade. My system that I teach is use thousands of traders across the world. Use this trade system to trade consistently, make a living, and we use the same system day in, day out, every day. Every morning in the pre-market, me and my team, we are up early. We make a pre-market plan. As you see in the front, this was today's plan based upon the news plays, gappers, earnings, downgrades, upgrades, market plays, IPOs, and we just go through all of them and we make a plan. I make a general game plan based upon support and resistance pivot, and then we have a general bias before the market opens, and then whatever is triggering, based upon that, we take the trade. In addition to that, we also provide daily levels: SPY, QQQ, IWM, the marketplace. So these are marketplace which are market dependent, index dependent, which we trade day in, day out. And that's why we provide these levels which you can trade with Ripster EMA Cloud system. In addition to that, we also provide our crypto levels for the stocks like coin, MSTR. These were pretty beneficial today because Bitcoin was down, and these were used to trade short or long. In addition to that, I also provide my day 2, day 3 strategy setups to the community. And this is a strategy that I invented. I did cover it in one of my free webinars that I did. And I go in detail how this works. I also covered these how these work out in our previous YouTube videos. So based upon these day 2, day 3 plays, sometimes you can find good setups. Sometimes they even have news, for example FSLR, and then there was shop, there was CELH. So we will cover all those setups as well. All of them will not trigger. I look at them. If I see volume, I see trigger, I let the community know which one is triggering, which one is not. So we'll cover those as well. Spot was also a good trade there. And with this plan, I'm on the voice first few hours of the market open, guiding the community through the SPY QQQ. The market is it bullish, it is bearish, what stock is looking good for long, what is looking for short. And I share, if I'm taking any trade, I share in the community. I share in my alerts feed and our trading floor, and I'm also on the voice walking through any trade ideas, long or short, and guiding through the community through these trades. So I share all those. So that being said, let's start with the first trade of the day. I'll show you my timestamped comments, and then we will also look at anything else from the floor, trading floor. All right. So let's start with an Apple. Okay, so we know Apple broke out today, huge breakout. Apple traded today over $13. Its ATR is $4. It's traded 350% of its ATR. How does this happen? How does Apple trade so much? What's going on with the Apple? So we'll look at the fundamental news in a bit, but the thing that I want to show you and teach you is this setup, right? This is all-time high consolidation setup. So before I go in details, right, just look at this setup. So this is the setup that I have been teaching for many years on Twitter, and also I cover a lot in my community and the webinars. So this setup, right, you see all-time high, consolidation, kind of a flag, weekly time frame, daily time frame, whatever. When this breakout happens, this is usually a big breakout. It can be a swing trade, day trade, whatever, right? And you can see that it's exactly similar to what we are looking here. Right. So you know the setup, and is this a hindsight? Let's see. So let's say on Sunday, I usually post a lot of charts on Twitter, but these days I'm just get don't have too much time, little to focus. But anyways, I posted this chart for the community. So I posted this chart on Sunday because every weekend you have to review these charts, and this is not the first time. I've been watching this Apple setup for a long, long time, right? I knew it's going here, going down, going here, going down, and then you know I know it's coming, right? So that's what I said, told everybody when I posted this chart: 200 psych breakout, support levels on the weekly chart below. So I gave some of those breakout levels: 199, 194. I was not really expecting the breakout right away. I was expecting some pullback so we can add a swing and then trade it. But regardless, we got a breakout today. And why did we get the breakout? How did the breakout come? How did we manage the trade? What was my guidance? Let's look at this. But I just want to make sure you guys understand the big picture setup. This is a weekly chart. The big picture setup of what is it? So this is the big picture setup. And it's exactly what I teach you, right? So market is not random. Market is never random. So there are hundreds of other trades like that, but Apple gave me opportunity to show you guys the live trade. And so remember this setup. This one setup you're gonna make a lot of money in your life. You don't need to do not need other people to tell you what to do. So anyways, so let's go back. Let's go back. Look at the morning plan. So the morning plan, we had buy upgrade from Davidson, we have an upgrade from Morgan Stanley, and we had an upgrade from JP Morgan. So we had a triple upgrades. So we covered this in our game plan. Then we have these levels in our level sheet. For Apple was support 192, 191, resistance pivot 193.24 and 194.83. So in the morning, when Apple was showing the strength, so we already know there's a three upgrades, right? We need to keep an eye on the Apple. I gave this to the community, but when I saw it pushing over the clouds, becoming bullish, that's when it caught my eye. So that's when I told people in the community, gave the idea. So let's see, let's go back and see what was my morning idea, right? So what was my morning idea? So let's look at it. It's easier if I can show you the screenshot and then I'll go to the community. You see that I saw it pushing, and it was pushing over that 193.24 breakout area. So you see that it's pushing over 193. So that's when I gave the idea of the long to the community, that versus 193 good long. Also watch the pullbacks as well, right? Always tell them to take pullbacks because there are a lot of new traders who don't really know how to get an entry, and they kind of size big on the slabs. But anyways, so it was a long. We already know there's a triple upgrade. So we already have the initial target on the daily chart as 200. So that's our initial target of this 200 on the daily chart. So that's fine because I just showed you the bigger time frame. So that's our first target. We started to break out from this area, and we are going to this area. So this area is our first target. So let's see. There we go. Okay. So yeah, so that's always the first target. 197.33 is 198.32, the first target. But Apple was so strong, the flow was so strong on Apple that it kept going. And then I told everybody to roll to 200 calls. So this is how you trade. You roll your profits, right? So if your calls are going 200, 300%, you made 3 grand. You take 1 grand and buy the 200 calls. You roll with the profit. Or if you made a profit on the shares, let's say you were 500 shares long and you made $200, and what you do is you take that and then you do take the profit and then you buy the options. So anyways, so I told everybody to roll 200 calls in money, lock them profits, keep the runners still strong. And then I gave the 205 target to everyone, and then I told them to buy 205 rolls, right? Use the profit, buy the 205 rolls. So you maximize your profit. Look here, I'm saying can roll with the profits to 205s, only use profits now. Because you have to see that Ripster Cloud EMA is not breaking down. It's not breaking down. So now many people tell me that rip is already running. How do we take it long? How do we take it long? There's many opportunities to take it long. The one of them is the 10 a.m. flag setup, right? So you use the prior 10-minute candle as your risk. So you see that this 10-minute candle is flagging, and this is our setup into 10 a.m. flag setup. It's a repeatable setup. You can take that, or you can take the longer 200 breakout. This is the all-time high breakout, 200 psychological level breakout. So this is an opportunity to long here. Your risk will be $2, 198 based upon this 10-minute candle. And then we push to our next targets, and then you see another flag. And after that, you find the levels where you see somebody, a bidder buying it. So this is another level to buy. So let me show you something. I was talking about on the trading floor. I was all day talking about a buyer that was on Apple. You see, there's Apple 202.50 buyer. So when Apple pulled back right here, you see right here. So then I was saying there's a buyer. If that buyer keeps buying, what do I mean by buyer? I mean that when there's a lot of sells, there's a bid at 220.50, 220.60, it keeps coming back. A new buy, a new buy, a new bidder. He keeps bidding. So that's the buyer. Because you see, the candles tell the story. It's not falling down. So the buyer is there. So you can buy, even if you buy at 203, you know there's a buyer at 202.50, or you can use the candle risk and you can trade that. And similarly, there was another buyer later at 204, this area. You see what I'm saying? Apple 204 buyer trying to hold. If it gives back, it will pull back. If this level broke, then we would have pulled back. But no, that buyer held. So you need to identify that on the tape, level 2, your tape, that how that buyer keeps buying it. And then, so you join that buyer, 202.50 buyer, 204, 204 buyer, right? There was another at 204.50 right here. There was another buyer. All day there were levels where you could trade buyer here, buyer here, buyer here. So these are the levels where you could trade. Here they tried to break the 512s. It reclaimed 512s, and that's where you can trade. And you don't have to trade crazy. Just take shares like 200, 300 shares. If you're a small account, just take 2 or 5 calls. You have clear defined levels where the buyers are. So if you can go back, run your think or swim or something back, look at the tape. What was happening here? So I watch closely what's happening here. So that's why you see my guidance, what I do, the comments here. And at the end of the day, try to break down again, but again it reclaimed that. Again the 512s. This hammer is very bullish. Usually, I tell everybody to swing this kind of setup. Tomorrow is CPI, so it's kind of little tricky. We don't know what it can go to 2 or 10, or it can come back to 200. We don't know what CPI will give us, but these are the setups that you can trade. And usually I like to swing it. So you see that all day there was no reason to cut, and there was no reason to short. When you short this setup, then you are not really following any system. You are just gambling, and you are an amateur trader because you just think it's too high. That's not how you will make consistent money. Your consistent money will you make following the trend. Even if you have FOMO, just add 1 contract, 2 contract, whatever, who cares? Just be part of the move so that you learn. Be part of the move so you learn how that works, how the setup works, right? So that was a nice end of the day breakout. So I already showed you the complete guidance, and all as well. So so everything is right here, all day guidance, and also display was provided. I provided usually just like I provide thousands of charts on Twitter. These days I'm also trying to provide a lot of these charts to my community in the chart ideas, and a lot of these setups. You will see other setups working out from there as well. So you are ready before the move, and you can focus. That's why you have to study, and on the weekends you have to browse all the charts, look at the setups. That's how I could look that Apple is setting up for a breakout. And literally, if you started with $1,000, you should be up 8 9 grand just trading Apple all day, right? So that there were 500%, 400%, keep rolling, keep rolling. Your first options goes 300%, buy the next one. That goes 100, 200%, buy the next one. So that's how you grow your small account. So definitely today was an amazing day. My whole focus was on an Apple today, because I just want to focus on one trade and have a great solid day. So that was solid one, guys. Let's go to the next one. So next one we're going to look at is ARM, right? So ARM was pretty strong all day. Community was trading ARM all day. So what was so special about ARM? So let's go back and look at our morning plan. So ARM had, look, let's go there. Let me show you 1 second. Yeah. So ARM had 143 PT profit target raised by Goldman Sachs. The 143 was the profit target that given by Goldman Sachs. So I told you many times, I've told many times that when there's an upgrade by tier one firm, you see the moves, right? You see the moves, you see the solid moves happening. So that's what happens then when there's upgrades by tier one firm. So we see those moves happening. So when we have those upgrades, so we need to watch it. Let's go back and see what were our levels on our ARM. So our levels on ARM this morning were 140, 142. So those were our resistance breakout pivots on ARM. So you can see that. So this was the breakout and this was the breakout. When I was on voice this morning, we were going through all the SAMIs, right? We were watching all the SAMIs and our SAMI watch list as usual. And what we were trying to look at was, that um, what is the strongest name in the sector. And the strongest name, of course, there was OLED. I was talking about OLED as well, but ARM was the one of the strongest ones. So that was one of the strong names that was going, and of course AVG was following. A lot of other names were relatively weaker today, like the Nvidia's, AMD's, but AVGO and that was strong. So if I show you the intraday chart on all those, you will see that if I show you, see how ARM was leading in the morning, all day leader, 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 right? So AMD was this was ARM. So this was the ARM runner, and then there's OLED was following right behind it, and then rest of them were down here, right? So there you see the strength on ARM since morning, and that's what I was talking about in the community, and that's how the community was long. Was great idea by Hansel, Jaswinder, Demi. A lot of people in the community were on top of ARM, and we really had some good long trades and made some good money on ARM today. So let's go to the next one. So next one we're going to discuss is DXC. So DXC was a short winner today. It was my favorite setup that we trade often. That was our gap and crab setup. So let's go back and see what was the news on DXC. So news on DXC, let's look here. Let's go back to our game plan, right? So DXC, rumor of acquisitions, support was 1880, resistance 1910. I clearly told everyone gap fill under 1880. So I saw it breaking down. Right away I told everyone short. The first trade for me was a short on DXC right at open, right? And then I was like 1880 will confirm the breakout, so wait for that. I mean, do not size crazy, let it break down. And then 1880 broke down. Our target was 18, was first target, and that's where we covered the most. And then it pushed higher, we closed the position because 18 was also over 61 Fibonacci level. And what was our risk? Our risk was barely 15 cents, and we made $1. That was like 1 risk to 5 reward, 6 reward trade. You short DXC, and if you short 1,000 shares, you risk $200 and you made $1,000, right? So this is the kind of trade that's the risk reward you want to do it, right? So anyways, you saw the pre-market plan, the timestamp guidance. Big winner, not a big winner, but a nice winner. Let's go to the next one. Next one we're going to talk about is Lily. So Lily again was one of our main plays in the community. So let's look at it. Let's look what was the plan on Lily. So Lily was one of the star plays because Alzheimer drugs gets a FDA approval, backing, bullish over 880, gap fill under it, right? It's that simple. We just have a level and we just play the level. So we can see that. So Lily had this 880 and you know. And as soon as it was breaking, I told everybody Lily short. 860 is the first target. And then we met our 860, and next target was 855. My final target was 850. We did not meet that, but by that time we were already 100% on our puts on Lily. And then it bounced. I didn't long it, but you see this 512 rejections. That was another short. Nice scalps here as well. But then there was a buy at 858, and then it kind of bounced it from there. So the point is the morning trade of gap fill on Lily was amazing. So you see my timestamp guidance showed at the open 860 first target, 855 and 55 final target, 855 target met. And then later in the day we rejected 512, still a short, and it gives you another nice scalp here from 865s to 860s. So that was a Lily winning trade, guys. Really, really nice one. These few trades we were done in the morning. So next one we're going to look at AFRM. So although AFRM kind of worked later in the day, but I was not part of that trade. My trade was at the open. I was trying to trade the breakout. So I took an AFRM starter and 1/3 size, and because I knew there's a risk there, and it didn't work out, broke this opening price, and then I exited right here 512s. So it took a small loss, nothing big because of small size. But let's look at what was our plan on AFRM. It will be available to Apple Pay users. That was the news. Support was 31, resistance was 32.50, 34.50. So I was trying to play this breakout, right? So that was my plan. I was trying to play this breakout, and it kind of, did not work, and I was planning to add, if it broke out of here, I would have cut it, and it did not work, so I had to cut it when it failed this opening price, right? I was only 1/3 size, and then later in the day it gave a nice setup. So this was a nice setup, midday repeatable 34.50 flag setup. So you see how it kind of worked out later in the day, and a lot of traders in the community did trade AFRM later in the day, and Demi Pool was on it, Big Papa, Jan was all over that. A lot of other traders were trading later in the day on AFRM. But just it was not, and I had my doubts, right? When you're trading something, it's not going to work. That's why I was kind of giving some warnings to the other traders as well. But that's part of the game. I do like the daily chart. I will talk more about AFRM in detail because it's kind of this downtrend channel is kind of breaking out, so might be a good time. Let's see how CPI goes tomorrow. If CPI is low, AFRM will be a good focus for all of us, and we'll see how that goes. So that will be our focus, AFRM. So next one we're going to discuss is all these Bitcoin names, right? So that was our Bitcoin plays. So that we want to look at them. Let's see if I can find my watch list. So what was happening with Bitcoin play? So you see what Bitcoin was doing was it was a big breakdown. It broke down on the daily chart under the 512 EMA Clouds. So that's why everything was weak this morning. So it was on our game plan, MSTR and coin, Bitcoin down, and I gave those crypto levels to everyone. You can see 239, 1530 on MSTR. Mara was 1863. So pause the screen, watch those levels, and you can see that all of them gave us shorts in the morning, right? Coin gave us a nice short at the open 10 a.m. Remember, about 10 a.m. is a profit taking time. Nice short. What was my level? My level was 239.40. So once that's gone, you can short at starter versus the clouds and just trade that short and look at MSTR. MSTR was a nice fade at open as well to the 1500 psychological level. Yes, it was a nice long later, but these were the morning short setups. And then we can look at Mara, and Mara was also a good short in the first. It was not the all day fader. This trade was the open, and after that, of course, when it bounced, and then there was this 34.50 curl, nice cup and handle. But there was an opportunity to short them in the morning, and very impressive move, reversal across the board, and that's why you just respect your system. Once you're short, you cover your shorts here, and there was a midday setup here on all of them. You see 512 calls on this one, and there was a 512 call on coin. Was not that impressive, kind of a risky setup, but other names were definitely giving some nice trades. All right, let's look at some other plays. GameStop was a curl today, and this was basically the trading floor. A lot of traders were trading in the community because how it started to push out. So this first push on gamey, when it halted, that's when we talked about it. And then I even tweeted about this. It's because it moved over 3450. So that was interesting. But you don't chase here, because this is what this is my new indicator that I'm working on, is the 2020 EMA on the daily chart. So you see it's rejecting this level, pulling back, and then the breakout happens. So then the breakout happens, and I had a breakout alerts going on here. You see that, right? And win was on the on that as well. There was a 2625 breakout, 2641 breakout. So that was the breakout, and there you take long, and your risk is this clouds. You add here. You do not add here. You watch. If you add here, you get out here, and you add again here, and then you see the breakout, and then that's when I was mentioning that it can push higher to 30-32s, over 30-32s. And from that breakout, we did push our end of the day to 30 plus. So that was a nice trade in the community on the GameStop. This was a midday bounce curl setup. And I have some lotos shares and swinging, nothing much, nothing crazy. But we'll see what happens tomorrow. But you can see a lot of I was talking about how if we clear 27, we can push more, and that's what happened, right? So some nice little scalp middle of the day. Let's go to the next one. So next one we want to discuss is SMCI. So SMCI was another one which kind of did not work out. It was a B minus midday curl setup, and I saw it kind of curling here and gave an idea. But when I saw the weakness right here breaking down, I just told everybody just leave it, right? Because there was no strength. I mean, all strength was in AVGO, ARM, the other semiconductors, but SMCI really had no strength. So there was no option. So this setup was not an A plus setup. So you shouldn't lose too much money here. There's no strength. It's a B minus curl. It's not working. So just get out, right? So as you see this action. So that was a scratch trade idea, and I was watching it. I didn't even try to add it, but when I saw I gave the idea, but when I saw the weakness, I just told them scratch it. All right, let's now go to PNW. If you watched my yesterday's video, I showed you how we nailed PNW. And PNW, we did swing. Yesterday, I told everybody to swing it because of this setup on PNW. This nice cup curl on the daily chart versus 300 psychological level. My target is 315. We almost close there. We'll see how it goes. But PNW has been working well for us. It's in our one of our swing trackers. If I can show you that, so yeah. So let's see if it pops up here. All right. So here we go, right? PNW, our swing was versus 300. Nice move on our swing. So these are some of our swings that we had open in our swing tracker. So that was a setup. I just wanted to show you. You can watch my yesterday's video how that worked out. Let's look at some of the day 2, day 3 setups, which were nice. A lot of these were on the trading floor by the community. And shop was another setup that was pushing over 20 EMA. And a lot of traders were trading it in the community shop. Was kind of working nicely later in the day. We had our day 2 levels on shop here. What was it? Let me see if I can find those. So shop was our day 2 setup, and a lot of guidance was there by RGV. So you can see how RGV is showing you this setup in mid of the day. So right here, yeah. So let me show you right here. So RGV, very good trader in the community and one of our lead traders. You see how he's showing this flag setup, and then it ended up pushing to 64.69. So those are kind of midday setups we usually do. Reason we keep shop on the watch, because it had it had news earnings recently. So we just keep on the watch of those day 2, day 3 setups. Few other day 2, day 3 setups. There was one was CELH, because we know CELH had a bearish news yesterday, and that's why I had CELH today for the community. 66 was a support, 67.24. Once it broke the 67, it was a short. Another one which I was talking a lot on the community voice today was SPOT, because spot was gapping up again. Same news, rinse repeat. I had a neutral bias. 313 was my support. They introduced a new premium plan. We have heard it many times again. Once it broke 339, it faded to 306. Right? It was also a day two, but it also had a news. So it was also a short. So, just bunch of showing you how you can use the levels to trade. So I just showed you the levels on spot. I showed you level on CELH. And next one I'm going to show you is FSLR. So you see that, right? FSLR was one of our top day 2, day 3 setups. 281 was resistance pivot. The profit target increased by bid to 246. So you see that, right? PT 344 from 246. So we already know there is an upgrade, right? So there was the morning trade would have been tough, right? Amateur move. But the setup that came in, and this again was a lot of guidance by RGV in the community on First Solar. Once it broke out of that level mid of the day, 281, right? It tried to break out in the mornings, kind of risky amateur trade. I didn't trade that. But this midday setup is which was really, really nice. And the good thing was this was a daily flag breakout. So First Solar was a daily flag breakout. So that's something you always look at the daily chart, which gives you more confidence. So you see whole community was trading First Solar. Yash was on top of First Solar. Lexi was on top of it. Literally whole community was trading. RGB was on top of it. So was really, really, really good trades in the community on this setup. So it's all about opportunities, right? Watching in the setups. All right, next one we want to look at another of our game plan earning plays, that was ADSK. ADSK. This one I was mostly talking on the voice that it's very bearish. And we go back to our news plays. ADSK had an earnings, a neutral bias 218, 217.20 was support pivot, resistance was 218.64. And once it broke that 218, 217 level, it was a short, right? It was a short all day, and then it broke yesterday's lows. It was a 10 a.m. bear flag setup. Then it was another bear flag setup. So ADSK was all day short on the bear flag setup. From the levels I gave, it faded all the 10 12 points, right? So look what I'm saying here. I told everybody it's still bearish, and then finally it gave a curl. So it also gave a curl at 208.67. You can see the price alert. This is where it give the curl. This is where you exit the short, and then it pushed almost $4 from the curl alerts. So that's how you play both sides, right? So that was ADSK. All right, let's wrap up with SPY and QQQ setups today. So let's wrap up with looking at SPY and QQQ. So SPY QQQ, my morning guidance was that it was a short, right? So I gave a short to everyone in the morning. So that was a short right here. Not going to spend too much time. You guys watch my previous videos. QQQ was relatively stronger, and we know that 10 a.m. is the pivot time. Then they pivoted 10 a.m. So my interest was not this, right? Yes, there was a 512 curl. That's fine. My interest was this one right here, this one. This was like, you can call it a flag, you can call it a cup and handle, does not matter. The point is it's some kind of a bullish chart setup, right? So anyways, so 512 curls, that was my first alert right here. 53361, nice push, not bad. And you see this is the retest. Again, I talk about the retest again and again. This is the retest of this breakout, this area, support, right? And then SPY comes, this big breakout right here. Look at the time, look at the breakout. And I told that breakout does not have enough volume, but Apple will lead the way. If Apple goes, SPY breakout will go. And that was a nice trade on SPY, SPX calls, QQQ calls. You could, if you traded $1,000 worth of options, you probably made $300 based upon this nice trade. So that was a nice setup, and same was for QQQ. So in mornings, QQQ was bullish when it pushed higher at 1025s. I told everybody bullish because Apple was bullish. Apple is the market. And then it came the breakout at 130, 140, 465, 62. Right, so then came the breakout, new HOD, and there was a nice breakout setup too. So you see how I set up all these breakout alerts so that community can find the trading opportunities based upon the system, not randomly trading, just repeat, a very structured way. So guys, this was it. Little long video today, and hopefully you learned a lot from these videos tomorrow. I'll see you tomorrow. If you want to trade with me, you can join the community. Discount links should be in the description. Don't come for the alerts, come for the guidance and a community. See you guys tomorrow. Take care. Bye bye.